For sure. For sure. What's going on, y'all? Yo, 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 you tuning into the Notion Podcast Live. I am your host, Dizzy Dspill, and I want to thank everybody that's in the live right now. We're definitely going to cover some interesting topics, some topics that I thought needed to be covered. So for you guys that are watching, for you guys that have logged in, for you guys, if you guys are watching through YouTube or whatever platform, go ahead and leave a shout out in the chat. I appreciate you. Definitely want to shout you out. And feel free to leave your comments and your commentary because I do read comments. I like to hear what y'all think and your opinion. Maybe one day I might get you guys on the live with me to share your commentary because I'm not mad at that. You know, perspective is always interesting. But we're going to get into it. We got to talk about this Shannon Sharpe situation. So for you guys that don't know, Shannon Sharpe basically got fired from ESPN. I'm messing with this mic. Basically got fired from ESPN. And what ended up happening was right after the settlement, they basically pulled the plug and said, all right, which is unfortunate about settlements because a lot of businesses, a lot of people will settle outside of court because of how much legal fees could be. So the fact that that happened, he did step away, but they just went ahead and helped him out the door. Back when he stepped away earlier this spring because of the allegations, he tried to settle outside of court. The original case was a $50 million case, but there's people that have commentary about it. And I thought it was very interesting that somebody that he interviewed, who was a little controversial during that interview, had her thoughts on the commentary. And I wanted to dive into this. Now, to keep it 100 with you, this is Amanda Seals, and I did not watch this prior to this live. So I will be reacting in real time on what she has to say about it. So let's dive into it. Let's see what we got.
You know, yesterday I was in the world, minding my business, focused on the greater issues at hand. And then karma was brought to my attention. You know what's not funny? What it looks like this young 20-year-old lady was put through. And no, he was not tried in a court of law because he chose to settle instead. That's what's not funny. However, woo, as my mother would say, redemption does come quick, eh? Speaking of my not white, Black woman, Grenadian mother, big up today is Emancipation Day, the day when England decided to set the colonies free from slavery. Lodge up all my Carib people.
What?
You damn rude, eh?
Yeah, that was a little weird. I guess one of the reasons why she felt like, you know, she wanted to kind of gloat and laugh when, you know, basically kick somebody when they're down is because she wasn't really a fan of how their interview went. And for me, I just think it's a little weird to be that, I don't know, to be that weird about the behavior in which someone is going through something, losing their job, losing money, things of that nature. I think that is really unfortunate for somebody to lose millions. Now, the fair thing about it is fair to say that he was warned. Let's keep it 100. Shannon Sharpe was warned by Cat Williams. I mean, he literally said, some of these young white girls, they'll have your career in 2 weeks. I'm paraphrasing, you know what I'm saying? But basically, the tough thing about that was I felt like dude was genuinely more concerned with his brother's Hall of Fame induction, and he was worried. In his own words, he basically got on the platform and he said that he mainly was apologetic for the fact that this news could possibly overshadow his brother Sterling Sharpe's Hall of Fame induction, and I feel that. I respect that. Amanda Seales to me is a little strange. I just feel like she's a little strange in how she moves. I mean, she self-diagnosed herself on his platform with autism just by reading the symptoms. That's not how that works. I always felt like she was a little off. But just talking about Shannon Sharpe for a minute and him losing out on all of these different opportunities, I just feel like I don't know when brothers are going to learn. Now, you can do whatever you want to do with your money. You can do whatever you want to do outside of work. But I just honestly feel like when it comes to the way you move, you would think that some of these guys will pay attention to people that, move in silence and that move in a way where they're not going to be caught up in those stuff. The crazy thing about it is you really just missed out on potentially $100 million. And I don't know. I don't know. I couldn't be in that position. I could not just lose that money and just, be as calm because that's generational wealth, brother man just lost. However, I find it interesting that, somebody like Amanda Seales, who is controversial, but she's also supposed to be pro-black. The weird thing about, and I don't know, it's been a trend lately. Umar, even Dr. Cheyenne Bryant, all of these people that are public figures that are supposed to be professionals in their craft and in their field, they all have something in common. They have a lot of them have enemies, right? Ops, if you will. But they all claim to really care about the black community and black culture. But the minute somebody that's on the opposing side of them that's black goes through something, they can't wait to talk about it, or they can't wait to clown or drag or whatever. But as far as Shannon Sharpe goes, I'm not going to try to kick the brother while he's down. I'm not going to try to do that. What I will say is I hope brother man has learned a valuable lesson about kind of turning a blind eye to certain cultural issues like he's kind of done, and to really look at the situation. When you let a youngster, somebody that's probably old enough to be your daughter, maybe even granddaughter, basically finesse you out of money and cost you pretty much over $100 million. To me, that's crazy. To me, that is not worth it at all. So I hope brother man really gets it together. But to keep it a bean, I'm not saying that I enjoy seeing the brother go through what he go through, but I kind of don't feel bad, because when I see black men like this be in situations where they're losing money, they're getting allegations and all of that stuff, one of the first things I think about is like, bruh, you had like 100 different examples prior to this and you still lose out. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I think he's going to be all right. I think he's going to get another opportunity somewhere else. I think Club Shay Shay is going to continue to thrive. I think his brand just kind of took a dent, kind of like Kobe. Kobe, his brand took a dent when he went through what he went through, and then he ascended, throughout the rest of his career. I think that's going to be the same thing for Shannon Sharpe. I don't know how y'all feel. Y'all let me know in the comments. Let me know what you think. But I honestly think that he will be okay. I think it's a hard, very expensive lesson that he just learned. But as far as Amanda Seales, that's a person that doesn't learn. And the reason why I feel like Amanda Seales don't learn is because a lot of her controversy is about, haha, told you so, rather than it being a teachable learning moment. Even that clip that I played, like I said, I reacted in real time. I didn't watch it before playing it, and it was kind of irrelevant. So it seemed more like I'm going to laugh at you more than anything. So I thought that was weird. But I'm gonna move along with that. Y'all let me know what y'all think about Shannon Sharpe's situation. Do you think he might get a better deal later on down the line? Do you think Amanda Seales is still showing signs that she's crazy by even replying to that? Because that ain't even having nothing to do with her. It's not like he had allegations with her or something like that. But I just thought that was weird. People pulling up. But I also want to get into another thing. Let me see. Do I have that clip? Oh, I probably don't. I don't have that clip. You know what? I don't have the clip, but I don't even think I need the clip for this conversation. So for you guys, while we're on the sports topic, for you guys that are familiar with Gilbert Arenas, Mr. Gilbert Arenas just got arrested because of some gambling situations. And I guess the weird thing about Gilbert Arenas' situation is I guess it happened between 2021 and 2022. So I guess they came in, picked him up or whatever because he was running some kind of illegal gambling operation in a Encino, California mansion. And I guess he was working with, a gangster from overseas, some Saudi Arabian dude was in on it or whatever the case it was. And then obviously hours later, he posted bail for $50K. For you guys that don't know, Gilbert Arenas is a former NBA player, played for the Wizards. That was, probably his prime years. And he's had a lot of controversial takes. I've covered some of those controversial takes here on the podcast. And basically, he just got wrapped up in some stuff. Again, black men. I don't really understand what's going on with a lot of these rich brothers. It's interesting because there's a content creator that I'm pretty familiar with by the name of Anton Daniels, and he is very, very adamant on believing that it's not a race war, it's a class war. And when I'm looking at a lot of these very successful rich men, I'm wondering how the class war kind of fits into that, because these ain't the only people committing these crimes. I mean, as far as Gilbert Arenas and Shannon Sharpe, they're considered allegations because they haven't been proven guilty. But I am starting to look at a lot of these wealthy black men that are getting into these situations that are costing them money and possibly their freedom. I covered the Dame Dash situation not that long ago, where he owed over $800,000 in debt and he had to sell different parts of his business. I don't know what's going on with these brothers. I don't know what's going on with these black men, but it sounds like they need to make some serious changes and shifts in who their circle is and where they're investing their money. But with Gilbert Arenas is interesting because he's very, very critical on other people, mainly about sports. I don't see him covering too many other things as far as personal life. But it just seems like a lot of these guys that are successful and loud with their opinions or with the way that they live, it comes back to, excuse my French, bite them in the ass. And nobody wants that. Nobody wants that situation for themselves. And it's just really unfortunate. I hope that Gilbert Arenas gets it together. I hope he is innocent. He did post bail. He made a comment. I'll try to share this stuff, these little memes and little news articles that I see. But apparently when he got out, he referenced something along the lines of snitching. Ain't nothing wrong with snitching. And I have a rule about snitching. If you're a civilian, you can snitch all day long because you're not involved with the activities that's affecting your community. But if you participate in the crime, you, in my opinion, are a rat if you tell on everybody because you got caught. So I'm hoping that Gilbert Arenas can find a way to prove that he wasn't involved with whatever illegal gambling thing he was doing in a mansion that he was hosting and renting. But I don't see how you could do that. But you can't start talking about, oh yeah, man, it's time to snitch. I don't live by the street code, but I respect the street code for those that do. And I just think that's a little weird, man. I don't know, some little coward behavior. But speaking of snitching, I needed to cover this interesting topic because this is something rare that I haven't really seen a whole lot of. Now, you guys got to forgive me. I don't know all of these artists, all these rappers, and these different areas. I do podcasts, I do music myself, but it's so much music out there. But if I'm not mistaken, a Jacksonville rapper by the name of Ksoo was just convicted of first degree with the help of his father testifying. And I want to share this with you guys. I want y'all to check this out because this tripped me out right here. Let's look at this.
Yes.
Who is the person that was captured on the video recording shooting Charles McCormick?
My son.
What's your son's name?
Hakeem.
Man, let me go back here. So that's his father testifying, identifying him as the suspect or one of the suspects in the crime. I think that's pretty wild. I think that's unfortunate, man. How do y'all feel about that? Would you be willing to testify against your own child if you know that your child committed that crime, right? You know your child did it, your son, your daughter. It's on camera. You didn't raise them to be that way. Your child is the reason why somebody else's relative or child isn't here. How do y'all feel about that? Would you guys be okay with testifying against your own kid? I'm out of focus. Let me try to get this focus right. Y'all forgive me, y'all. No. Yeah. But let me know in the chat. Would you do it? Would you testify against your own kid when it's very clear that they're guilty? I want to hear about that. Now, while you guys are thinking about that or commenting on that, I also want to play some playback of the verdict. And there's some things that I thought was interesting about this that I'll point out in a minute. But y'all check this out.
Is it done? I think it's done.
Yeah, they might have heard.
And then already.
I gotta hit down. Anybody want to say?
So what I thought was weird, about that clip, where he basically being told that he's going to be guilty and that he is going to basically life without parole. I don't know how many artists is going to take. I don't know how strict the law has to get for people to understand that it's going to be a problem for you if you out here living that YN culture. But what I will say is that I thought it was crazy work that his dad testified. I have different feelings about that. I got children of my own. I couldn't even imagine being in that position, let alone my child being in that situation. But then at the same time, when you talk about right for wrong, when you talk about integrity, when you talk about what you stand on, how you raised your children to be, it really does put you in a tough spot where what do you do? I don't know if his father was forced to testify. I didn't even know about this story until after the verdict. But again, I definitely want to let people know, or not really let people know. I want to know from the people, what would you do if you was in that situation? Would you testify against your own kid? And then how would you feel if they got life? You know what I'm saying? And you had something to do with it. Now, what I thought was interesting is, you know, by his body language, I put up one of the clips. I had both of them, but maybe I just transfer one. it didn't really seem like he was too phased. You know, we've seen a lot of stuff on the internet where people get convicted of things and stuff happens. You know, they fall out, they crying, they fainting because they're going away forever. Their freedom is gone. Like basically game over. That's the end of your life. But dude, it didn't really seem like he had any remorse. I always find that interesting when people that are going away for life, when they have that look of like not really being remorseful. They're coming off like they're upset or whatever, but they really don't have that remorse. It's just, I don't know. It's just really weird to me. Really weird to me. So let me know what you think. Let me know what would you do as a parent in that situation if that was your child. Something that I definitely wanted to cover. I had to cover this. This one right here is interesting, and I'm gonna tell you why after I play the first part of it. But for those that don't know, this went down recently.
Fight that broke out midair on a Frontier Airlines plane. It was headed to Miami. A New Jersey man was arrested, charged after attacking another passenger. Victor Kendo is at Miami International Airport with the story. Good morning, Victor.
Good morning, George. That Frontier Airlines flight headed here to Miami from Philadelphia. According to the police report, the victim says that he was sitting in his seat when that other passenger grabbed him by the neck and attacked him. This morning, an alarming scene as a fight breaks out on board a Frontier Airlines flight bound for Miami while it was still in the air. The plane was about to land when, according to police records, 21-year-old Shannon Sharpe was returning to his seat when he allegedly grabbed another passenger by the neck. The two trading blows, passengers trapped, witnessing the chaos.
The man sitting behind was making comments to the man in front, like negative comments the whole flight. And the man in front went to the bathroom, and when he came back, that's when things started to escalate.
Sisters Rosa and Regina Gurgley seeing the scuffle firsthand.
You could hear just like pounding kind of, and like people talking or yelling, and we could just see two people fighting, and it was almost like hitting the wall next to it.
Authorities saying the victim sustained superficial cuts and declined medical attention.
We've really got to do more to stop this nonsense. This should be treated as seriously as it really is, and that is disruption in the cabin that could lead to much worse things.
Sharma was treated for that cut above his left eye, taken into custody, and charged with battery. Bond was set at $500.
Some of the verbiage in that that news clip I thought was very interesting. They called the dude that got basically his ass whooped a victim. I would think that the brother that was trying to avoid confrontation was the victim. But just a quick lesson really quick about social media and the algorithm. Now, when I watched a clip similar to that discussing the situation, I got on a totally different app. I got on TikTok, and lo and behold, this popped up.
I would like to take the time to clarify a few things. I'm getting many comments like the one above of people saying that I provoked that man during the flight. First thing first, Good Morning America, ABC News, they have the narrative wrong. That's not the truth. They didn't take the time to ask any witnesses who were close by and actually witness the real thing, what happened. They interviewed the two girls who were at the front of the flight who videotaped what happened from a distance, whose video went viral. They interviewed them. They didn't even see what happened. All they saw was the aftermath. They seen and heard commotion going on in the back, and then they start recording their phone after we're fighting. And you guys want to go with that narrative. I've been getting a lot of hate speech. I've been getting a lot of negative comments, but I'm also getting an overwhelming amount of support. And for everybody who does support and is taking the time to go down the rabbit hole and find the truth, thank you. ABC, Good Morning America, I wish you guys would reach out and actually get the true story. There's plenty of witnesses who were around me in the vicinity, and they posted their own testimony to social media, and it aligns with the story that I told WSVN and what happened. I was the one who got out of my seat and went to the restroom.
Now, let me stop real quick right here. One of the main reasons, and I haven't said this too much to a lot of people because A lot of people don't ask, so this is more volunteered information. One of the reasons why I started podcasting was because I never really liked how stories were told in the media and in journalism. Now, nobody's perfect. Journalists get things wrong sometimes. They get, they trust sources they shouldn't trust. They get facts mixed up in the whole nine. No platform, no journalist is batting 1,000, okay, every time. It's just not happening. But what I do know that is a common narrative when you're discussing black people, or especially black men in media, is, they're always the antagonist, right? They did this, or, thugs, and all of these different words and these slick ways of pointing the finger at black people, sometimes brown people, but black people are definitely the mascot of violence on TV without, volunteering for that. That's just the target. So even with the news article that I just showed, or the news video that I just showed, they kept referring to the guy that got his ass whooped as the victim. Just because you get your ass whooped in a situation does not mean you are a victim, especially when you provoke it. He was not the victim, but this is why, personally, Dizzy Dspill and the Notion Podcast likes to cover current events. Of course, we want to give you guys context and we want to give you guys some substance, but this is why. Because a lot of people don't get to tell their story the correct way, or, actually put the truth out there. I'm going to go ahead and let brother keep explaining the situation, because he did have a point calling out the news platform and pointing out the fact that you didn't even interview me. You interviewed people that were around. And you know how it is on social media. When video's out there, it's never a video that starts from the beginning to the end. You're very lucky if you find a video that starts from the beginning to the end. You always find the climax part of the situation. But let's let brother man, who was actually in the video, explain in his own words how it got to this point. So let's go back.
I was the one who told the flight attendants about the disturbed man who was sitting behind me, because I was in the front seat and he was in the back seat. And I informed them that this man is giving me threats and he's saying things to me. Before I even got up out of my seat, I had my headphones on. I'm listening to music. I'm looking outside of the window, admiring the sunset, and I hear somebody faintly laughing behind me. I can't hear it that loud because my headphones are on, but he was laughing that loud that I could hear him faintly in my headphones. I thought it was just a normal person watching a movie on their phone, some kind of funny movie, and I paid it no mind. But the two young women who were sitting next to me, they kept breaking their neck to look back to see what he was laughing at and what was wrong with the guy. And after they multiple times kept looking back, it made me a little worried, so I took my headphones off and I looked at them, and they looked at me with concern about the person behind me. I turn around and I ask the guy, "Are you good?" And he starts doing that villainous laugh again. Ha 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 ha. You're nothing but a weak man, a mortal man, a puny man. Like, he's saying things like that to me, nobody else.
Dude was talking like
I didn't
Thanos.
even know this guy was behind me the entire flight. I just start laughing about it because I think it's funny. I'm like, what's wrong with this crazy guy? Why is he talking to me like that? I just get up. I'm like, I go to the restroom and the flight attendants are right there. So I say, "Hey guys, there's a disturbed, deranged man behind me. He's giving me things like death threats and stuff like that. I'm just letting you know that if he puts his hands on me, like, I'm gonna defend myself." I tell them that. They're like, "It's okay. We basically already know about what's going on." They let me know that they were aware of him. And they told me to go back to my seat and press the button if he continues. So I do just that. I walk back to my seat. As I'm sliding back through the aisle to get to 18F, which is where I was sitting, he's jawing off at me again. "Oh, you weak man. You go to the restroom and you're looking at yourself in the mirror because you're just a weak man. If you challenge me, it will lead to your death and your destruction." He's saying evil things like this to me. And as soon as he starts jawing off again, I just get up, I press the button, and I turn around and I question him. I said, "Yo, what's your problem? I'm not with any of that demonic stuff that you have going on." And he gets up immediately. He puts his forehead on my forehead, face to face, and he grabs me with both of his hands and he starts to choke me. You guys are saying things, oh, if you're a man of God, why didn't you use your words? Why didn't you rebuke him? What would you do if you...
Let me stop right there. I believe in God. I was raised in the church, and I am not one to provoke violence, but I will say personally, if you put your hands on me, I will beat that ass thoroughly. So religion will not save you from an ass whooping if you provoke it and you put your hands on me, you put your hands on mine. I'm gonna be honest, I'm a lot worse if you put your hands on the ones that I love than if you put your hands on me. So whoever's told him that or whoever made that comment sounds ignorant. It sounds like they need to be punched in the mouth because that's stupid. That's that man's livelihood and safety at that point. But I'm gonna go back to it. I'm gonna let him cook. I thought that was a stupid comment to make towards the real victim in the situation.
in a confined space on an aircraft and another stranger you don't know stands up and starts to choke you, I defended myself. I did what any rational person would do.
Absolutely.
Okay? I genuinely concerned for this man, Ashan. Whatever demon, whatever situation he was going through, I pray that man gets the help that he needs, because that is not okay. When is it okay to put your hands on another human being on a flight for no reason, unprovoked? I did nothing to him. I was minding my business the entire time. I was prepared for all the racist comments and the hate speech and things like that, and honestly, it doesn't faze me. The only thing that upsets me is that these news outlets are reporting false narratives, and everybody is starting to run with it and believe it. Take the time. Go to WSVN on Instagram. Go on YouTube. Go to WSVN and search the news and listen to the story. There's a young woman named Melissa who was on the flight, and she was helping break up the fight. She was right there when everything happened, and she tells the entire story on her Instagram. I will tag her Instagram in the comments. Go watch it for yourself. Don't believe everything the news puts out. They just...
Now, I agree with that. And the reason why I agree with that is because when I first seen the video, it just said from a flight from New Jersey, 2 men get in a brawl. And then, the more the stories started rolling in, they kind of painted this brother right here as the aggressor. You could tell he's kind of soft-spoken. He even has empathy for the person that he had to scrape. You know what I'm saying? He had to, dude was talking crazy. He had to tint his windows real quick. But the thing is that he was defending himself. He was physically in harm's way. It's not like there was other men over there to kind of break everything up and get involved. It sounds like they were surrounded around women, and I would never expect a woman or women to break up a fight between 2 grown men. But I do think it's important. I think that a lot of us that have platforms, that have followings and create content, have a little bit of a responsibility to try to help spread the truth on what's happening in certain situations. A lot of times we protect ourselves and we say allegedly for everything, because there's defamation, lawsuits and cease and desist and things like that can happen. But these news outlets are wild because, like I said, when I first seen it, it definitely was painted as if he's the aggressor. And like I said, for the people that felt like he should have reacted different because he's a man of God, well, let's do this. For you guys that are watching, I see more people have came in. I appreciate it. For you guys that are watching, what would you do if you were in that situation? What would you do? Go ahead and leave a comment in the chat. What would you do? Leave a comment on the post. What would you do if you have somebody talking crazy to you on a flight? Every move that you make, they're making a comment about it. And then they get up, put their hands on you, and proceed to choke you. Now, it doesn't look like this brother has any charges pending on him. The guy sounds like he probably has some serious mental and spiritual issues by the way he was talking and his behavior. But what would you do? To me, I think this stuff is wild because I don't know about y'all, but it seems like since COVID, it's almost common to find on the internet tons of videos of people fighting you're 30,000, you're like 30,000 feet in the air and y'all squabbling in a confined space. And I just be thinking about situations like what's going to happen if there's a fight in a plane and they sit close to an emergency exit, or the fight gets so close and out of hand that it goes towards the emergency exit where they bust that door open. That's why at the beginning of the news video, I understood where the guy was explaining like how severe and how much worse this can be. But you know, you see people getting kicked off of flights. You see flight attendants going crazy. I mean, even the check-in. I've seen videos where people that are checking in their luggage are fighting the people that are behind the counter. I don't know what it is. I haven't traveled since 2020 by plane, and that was for a funeral for somebody that I was very close to, and I just haven't been on a plane in a long time. But even the people that I know that travel on a regular, they've had moments where they thought they were going to snap and go crazy on a plane. But in this instance, it's so common. It used like the first few times I seen this, and you let me know if it's just me or what. But the first few times I've seen this stuff, I was appalled. Like, wow, in the airport, in a plane, because those were like heavily secured because of 9/11. If y'all remember back during 9/11, you weren't seeing or hearing about any of these situations because they had everything on lock. It was security everywhere. There was so many things you couldn't bring on a plane that were harmless. And so it seems like since they pulled back those restrictions and that security, the passengers, the daily flyers, are getting worse in their behavior. And not just that, the staff. Some of these airline staff, they're not even just treating regular people, regular civilians flying. I mean, you've even heard of stories of celebrities getting kicked off of flights, getting harassed and disrespected. Celebrities, athletes, people with, some brands to their name, or their name being their brand. And I just think that we're living in some very, very controversial and violent times. Me personally, I would love to take my family here and there and enjoy ourselves, but I'm a 90s kid, and I just don't see those things being as enjoyable as it was when I was a child, because everybody just has this chip on their shoulder, or people just have this aura and this energy where they don't even know you. Like, when you look at these fights between strangers, they're literally fighting each other like they've had a lifelong beef. The next time you see a fight video at a grocery store or on a flight or just anywhere in public, look at how they're squabbling. These people are squabbling like they've known each other for a long time, like they just ran into their nemesis. To me, that's strange too. But I just think it has a lot to do with the mental. People aren't making a lot of money. People are struggling. They're living paycheck to paycheck. People are harassing each other. Racial tensions are on an all-time high. Political sides are treating political parties like it's the Bloods and the Crips. And then you have a situation like this brother right here, where the news is painting the narrative out. Like, rewind back this live to when I played the first video, and then listen to when the news people are talking and how they refer to the dude that provoked it as the victim. He went and got medical attention, and then he got locked up, but they still managed to slide in that this guy was a damn victim. He was not a victim. That man in the video who was explaining, why he got in the confrontation, the brother with the dreads, he was the victim and still is the victim in this situation. I hope he presses charges and he's civil suit. You see everybody else, doing civil suits with these rich people. I think some of these civilians that act ignorant need a civil suit too. Crack their pockets open, man. But anyways, let me know what you think in the comment section about all of this. We covered Shannon Sharpe talking about how, he lost his ESPN job and he was worried about, that story overshadowing his brother's Hall of Fame induction, which is a big deal, by the way. Shannon Sharpe and his brother are the first sibling athletes to ever be inducted into the Hall of Fame. I think that's amazing. I think that's dope. Cool Black history if you're into that. But the news is, kind of tainted that moment a little bit. And then as far as the rapper, out of Jacksonville, Ksoo. Let me know what you think about his father testifying against him and putting him away for life. For you parents out there that are tuning in, would you do it? Would you testify against your child if they committed a crime that unalived somebody? And last, let me know what you think. What would you do on a flight where somebody kept provoking you? They started choking you. You throwing them haymakers? Are you getting to safety? Or are you just going to take the hits and say, you know what? I'm going to take you for everything you got in court. Anyways, you've been tuning in to the Notion Podcast Live with your boy, Dizzy Dspill. If this is your first time tuning in to the Notion, please press the like and subscribe and notification bell so you don't miss any of our content that we put out. For those that did not leave comments on what you think, please do. Run the video back. Look at the details. Until next week, peace.